Hi everyone, welcome to the Drake Michigan podcast, episode 12. Now, shortly we're going to be introducing today's guest, and we're just getting ready and prepared and getting the audio and the cameras ready and everything else. Today's guest is Kevin Morris, who I read his book this week, and we're gonna delve right into all the stories there. His background has took him down some dark paths, some troubled times, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and he's tried to sort of come away from it several times, fell back off the wagon, but there's a lot of spiritual experiences happened which has really made him sort of turn his life around, and I think now he's in a place where he's found his true calling. But that's where we want to sort of pick up today's podcast and really delve into the past and also where he's up to at the moment, and find out if what he's got to say really resonates with people, and also how we feel about it, as well. So we want to ask them questions to him. But before we delve into today's guest and get on with that, let's just have a little recap on everything what's going on in the world at the moment, because there's some crazy shit happening. We've got unidentified flying objects all over the place in America and Canada, whether they're balloons, whether they're satellites, whether they're foreign governments. I'm a firm believer normally it's a bit of a distraction from other stuff what's going on. Suddenly all over America we've got chemical plants and trains carrying dangerous chemicals blowing up or derailing, large fires, and any of you that follow the Simpsons, you'll know they're pretty good with their predictions. They've even predicted acid rain, so chemicals going into the clouds. Acid makes a bit of sense. The Simpsons also predicted sort of a glass dome and confining people into certain areas, a bit like the Hunger Games. And then suddenly we're hearing all over media now 15-minute cities popping up. In China they already have 20-minute cities. In Australia they're introducing it. Now a lot of people, this is still like new information, but like last week's guest, Darren Nesbitt, we have people who have known this stuff for many, many years. They've been looking into it, trying to wake people up, trying to tell people all about it. There's a lot happening in the world, what we need to be conscious of. The whole war in Russia and Ukraine, depending on which angle you look at it, it seems a bit dodgy. All the money that all the countries seem to be sending that way, and we're talking about billions, when suddenly our own countries, the USA, UK, are really on its arse at the moment. There is no money. So then you have to wonder, is that to do with the digital currency? Because just between you and me, I think the banks have lost all your money. That's my first feeling. I think the banks are broke. And what better way is to have war, have destruction, have death, so people are not discussing what's really going on behind the scenes. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds. And I've always said this, 2023 is going to be a massive year. I still think, from a prediction that I gave earlier, I think there's going to be something happening around the coronation of the King of England. Maybe he has to step to one side and his son stands in. We'll wait and see. I think something is on the cards there. So we've got so much to talk about, but on the Drake Michigan podcast, this is why it's important we bring these shows to you about personal life, professional life and spiritual life, because you can't have one without the other. You can do really well in your personal life, you can do really well in your professional life, or some people might do really well in the spiritual life. But if you're not doing well in all of them, they counteract each other, and you'll find difficulties and blockages, and your life, you don't know where you are. You'll be having troubles in relationships, troubles with finance. So this is why it's important we bring all these different shows so you can listen to what's happening out there in the world, so you can listen to people's personal problems, you can listen to people's spiritual success stories. And that's the whole reason with the Drake Michigan platform. And then eventually what we'll do is we'll take this on the road and we'll bring it into workshops, seminars, and people who are really ready to make the change in their life, to really, say, I've had enough. It's time that I take control of my own life. I want success. I want happiness. I want joy. We're going to bring all that kind of stuff to you, and I'm really looking forward to that. But without further ado, let's have a word to our sponsors, and we'll bring those in now. We have Atlantis Property Developments Limited, your one-stop contractor for all your development needs, from refurbishments, renovations, extensions and new builds. So if you're in the market for a new apartment block, a luxury home, a wraparound kitchen extension and everything in between, then check them out at www.atlantisproperty.uk. We have Apollo Windows and Doors, a Fencer-registered windows and door installation company. They do everything from the initial survey to the full and final installation and clean. Check these guys out at apollo-windows.co.uk. We have Estimate My Plans. Get a quick, detailed and professional estimate based on all of your building plans. Estimate My Plans carry out work for private clients, building companies, property developments, architects and local councils. So if you want a detailed estimate based on your current plans, check these guys out at estimatemyplans.co.uk. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 12 of the Drake Michigan podcast. We're fantastically joined today by the amazing Kevin Morris. And I've got a copy of his book here and we're going to get right into that shortly. But first of all, welcome, Kev.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for coming down and seeing us.
Thank you very much, gents. Thanks for having me.
Are you okay?
I'm perfectly fine.
Fantastic. Yeah. What I want to do, Kev, I want to get straight into it. And before we go backwards, I thought we could chat with what you're doing at the moment. Mm-hmm. So before we jumped on this weekend, did you say you've just done a couple of retreats or healing sessions?
I've just taught Angelic Reiki level 1 and 2 this weekend to 6 practitioners, right? Newly fledged practitioners who are going to go out and spread the light to the modality of Angelic Reiki.
It's wonderful. Yeah. I'm actually attuned to master level myself. It was Sam Murray.
Sam Murray, one of my students.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, just what? So when so was it level 1 that they've done there?
Level 1 and 2 level in the full weekend, yeah.
So when these students have sort of booked in and they come to see you there, and what do you find there? What mindset are they in? Have things been happening to them, or are they looking? What's the typical person that's approaching you for a?
Do you know what? It's all different walks of life. This weekend in particular, funny enough, not one of them have ever had a healing from me. It's normally my people are guided to me as one-to-one clients, and then I just feel a pull to say to them, well, you've got something here.
Interesting.
I feel like you could really do something with Angelic Reiki. But this weekend we had people from all walks of life. We had teachers, we had nurses, we had foster parents who fostered 40 odd children between them. And then they just decided to give up the fostering, but they're still giving back. They used to be trained, but they decided they wanted to come onto the Angelic because they actually did buy my book. They read about my story and they rang me up 9:30 the night before I was training from 5 o'clock on the Friday evening, and he said, have you still got a couple of spaces left? And I was like, yeah, of course. Luckily we'd had a couple of cancellations that week, so we got them on, and then it was funny because I had another lady come in who'd suffered with a lot of trauma, and basically she said, oh wow, my sister's into all this, so she gave her sister my number. And she rang me up at 2:30 and she jumped on the course, so it bounced all my numbers out, believe it or not. So it was like a rush of energy from the universe. But normally my courses can be booked up months in advance, but this one was a bit funny because it was February time. Yeah. The January one was fully booked from last year. My master teacher, I taught the end of January full class. first week in February, master teacher level, that was a full class. And then this one ended up at 6, 2 weeks after the masters. So I'm very blessed that, the angels really look after me and guide the right people to me.
So, like the people who come, the clients there, so are they wanting to heal the self, or are they all coming into it because they want to create a business and they want to do angel Reiki healing, or have they come in and some of them are saying, look, I've had these experiences happen to me and I feel like I'm guided, like I need to do.
It's all different. It's like horses for courses. Some people come in. I mean, myself personally, I only got into it for self-healing,
right?
And then I got booted out in the universe. So no, you need to be doing more with it.
Super.
But yeah, so it's all walks of life. Some people just say, I don't know, I just feel drawn to it. I mean, it was like myself. I did the other Reiki and never really drew me. But then as soon as I heard Angelic, something inside of me said, you need to be on that course. So we get people from all walks of life. I mean, I always say, if you put an Angelic Reiki healer in every household, we descend overnight.
Yeah,
it would just raise the frequency of the planet so much.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you know, the ego doesn't know, but the soul is steering the ship, and they haven't got a clue what they've come in for. Like me, I thought to just do it for self-healing, and then lo and behold, I've attuned nearly 1,000 people, I've healed thousands of others, and I've travelled the world globally teaching it. So,
have you got a centre, Kev?
Yeah, we had a healing centre up in Prescott, but obviously I just gave it up because we were going to go abroad and run retreats, but we hit a little bit of red tape. But now I'm actually in a few locations in Liverpool now. I've got in a location in Kirby, Huyton, and I've been asked to go into to a guy who runs all the sports therapy in Total Fitness in Aintree. Oh, wow. So he wants me to run one of his rooms from there. So I'm a life coach as well. Yeah. Obviously I feel that's very important to be able to, it's like a double-edged sword approach. So like when a client comes into me, I'll ask them lots of questions about what's going on in their life, you know, if they had trauma, anxiety, etc., etc. And I'm getting a reading of what's affected them energetically before I even put them on the bed. And then I give them an explanation of, you know, what chakras could be affected. And then obviously they got a full explanation of what they've come in for, because there's too many practitioners and masters out there just giving people energy healing. And do you know what? We are actually holding space for their own inner healer to be activated. So their own inner healer can be activated a lot more if they know in their own mind what they've actually come in for. Yeah. Does that make sense? So I like to sit down, give them a full explanation, then I do the healing. But the life coaching as well is brilliant because, you know, people go out there, you know, they can come in, have a heal and go out and go straight back into a toxic relationship. And that is exactly what's closing their
you're giving direction, aren't you?
Exactly. So I'm just spreading their awareness, opening their consciousness, and then the healing runs alongside that as well.
Kev, can I ask? So, and I mean, Kev will know the answer to this, but for the viewers, because there'll be a lot that will be tuning in right now.
Yeah.
Chakras. Okay.
Yeah.
I know what they are, you know what they are, but can you explain in a good layman term what chakras are and why are they useful to you? Okay,
so this is a topic I could probably talk about all day, but chakras in Sanskrit means wheel. Okay, so they are vortexes of energy that dictate energy to every vital organ in your body. Obviously, we've got glands attached to them as well. So we're all born with this lovely energy, okay? But life gets in the way and transforms our energy field from high to low frequency. As an Angelic Reiki master teacher, I basically channel the highest frequency of energy in the universe and transform that low frequency back to high frequency. Balanced chakras means balanced life. So as Nikola Tesla says, if you want to understand the universe, understand it as vibration and frequency.
Yeah.
Because you're the energy in the body, if your energy is out of sorts, you will feel out of sorts. And that's all I'm doing. And do you know what? I don't know whether I'm allowed to slip the odd little swear word in.
No, you can't. No, you're all right.
But the way I look at it is, you know, planet Earth is a very, very heavy density planet to come to on a soul level, right? And you know what? I always say to people, you're not going to get in the pig pen and not get shit on your shoes. And that's where the gloopy energy comes from.
So true.
Yeah, so true. And I'm just there holding it off.
I can tell that. So just to quickly recap so people know. So someone comes for a session of Angelic Reiki.
Yeah.
How long does a session last?
Basically, I say An hour. But that's 20-30 minute consultation, 25 minutes on the bed, and then a little recap.
That makes sense.
Recap on the end.
And how many sessions would you recommend someone as? Can it happen in one, or would you recommend 3 or 4?
I personally, I always say, if you've got any chakras blocked here today, give me 3 sessions in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then we'll go from there. I've got people coming in with high anxiety, you know, and I always get them to scale it, you know, 10 being the worst. Some of them are at 8, 9, 10s, and then I'm jotting down, and then on their 3rd session, I'm going, where's your anxiety at now? And they go, wow, it's actually gone, or it's down to 2 or 3. And it's like, wow, come to think of it, because it's like a headache that goes, you never know until you put your attention on it.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful modality, though.
Oh,
it is beautiful.
Is it a bit like other forms of Reiki? Do clients lie on a bed and you move your hands over certain areas in the chakras, or do they sit down? How do you?
So with Angelic Reiki, I mean, you know, you can obviously, we teach you with hands on shoulders.
Right.
If you feel guided, to maybe put your hands around the head area. If you feel guided, sometimes put your hand on the heart, solar plexus, etc. But as a rule, I mean, unless there's any major blocks, I just stay around the top area and I allow the angelic kingdom of light to channel through me.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And so then during a session of the healing, I take it, do you have your eyes closed?
Yes, I do, yeah.
And do you receive information yourself, or feelings or vibrations?
Yeah, we can do. I mean, to be fair, because I mean, at some point I'm seeing a client a day, so you know, if I'm seeing all this kind of stuff, sometimes I can just take myself out of the information and just channel the energy, and I allow then the client to experience it for themselves. If I feel it was the most important message, i.e., I have messages, but I'm more clairsentient, as you know. I feel energy, and I think as a healer, that's the most important clair to have, to feel the energy. But yeah, the information can come through, but I just allow the client to experience it.
And in your like sacred space or whatever it is you carry out your healing, do you feel like sort of when you're getting ready to heal someone, do you feel that you're joined by the angelic beings, or dare I say it, the man JC himself? But do you know what? Because I know sometimes like people will do healing, and what they'll do is they'll start off maybe with like the Lord's Prayer. They'll ask to be joined by Master Ashui or Jesus Christ or Archangel Michael, or even loved ones. And did you do something like that yourself?
Yeah, so obviously a little bit of history of Angelic Reiki. You know, it's channel knowledge from Archangel Metatron to the creator Kevin Core, and that was created in 2002 to 2003. And basically, you know, Kevin put this modality together from the channeled knowledge he was receiving. So we do have techniques of clearing with the platinum net. We do a protection on the building and myself with the golden dome protection with Archangel Michael. We do have mantras in there. So yeah, we do set our space very sacred. Spiritual hygiene is a must, but obviously I always say, if you got Big Mike on the door, no one's getting past.
That's true. He's the man.
Yeah, and then obviously then I'll obviously you know, I'm the face of HQ, Heaven Quarters. So the client comes in, obviously, drink of water, ask them certain questions, i.e., you know, with regards to the coaching side of it. And then obviously, once they're on the bed, then yeah, I do work with my healing angel. My healing angel comes right through the back of me, channels right down my arms, through my beam of light, and I bring in Yeshua. I can bring in any other ascended master, whoever I choose to work with.
Fantastic. And then just separate to the client, what about yourself? Because obviously you're giving off, I don't want to say you're giving off the energy, because we know it's channeled through us and all the rest of it, but also we do know as well we can take on a lot of people's pain and suffering at times and things like this. Do you ever feel like you need to sort of cleanse yourself, or have some time out, you can take on the people's baggage? And
I'll be honest with you, myself personally, yeah, I mean, obviously self-love is so important. You know, you can't pour from an empty cup. And what does that look like? It looks like me going to the gym this morning. It looks like meditation, self-healing as well. As a healer, we are advised to self-heal as much as we can. But yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I've got a mindset now where I drag people into my light rather than allow them to drag me into their darkness. So I'm just a pillar of light in front of them, and I'm transmuting it as an alchemist, and I'm transmuting their energy. I don't, because I actually look at things from a higher perspective. I always look at, things that are in alignment with your soul agreements. So I don't get bogged down with the he said, she said, shall I say. I just look at things from a higher perspective, with my own story. I had to work on forgiveness because it actually put me in a lot of decades of trauma and darkness. And now I actually went on my own self-discovery journey. Now I've got that information. I actually use it and live it and integrate it to drag them into that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to express, because a lot of people, whether it's healing or whether it's sort of, we might speak to mediums or psychics, a lot of people only see that bit where they're in your room for half an hour. They don't see all the preparation, the build up, the mental awareness, the cleansing afterwards. They don't see the full picture of what goes into it. Do you know what I mean? And well, I've said this a few times. So you meet a lot of holistical people who sort of struggle in the financial area of life, if you like, because they feel like, I shouldn't charge, or they feel like they have issues. And ultimately, I always say, like, if people realised what these people are doing for you, as in, like, they literally are coming from a place of, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of goes into this.
Yes.
There's a lot of planning, a lot of organisation, and sometimes a lot of finance.
Yes.
And it's very easy for a client to just turn up and say, I've paid. They don't get the full picture, do they?
No, and that's why I like to be very thorough with my consultation, so they understand what they've come in for. It's not just a few tingles down the left arm or whatever they've experienced. I mean, some of them are like plugged into the mains; they can see fireworks. But I always say, like, it's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get with every single healing. The same person could come in for 5 healings and have completely different experiences.
Yeah.
But touching on what you're saying there with regard to, like, people have a problem with charging for services and stuff. The way I look at it is this, it's an energy exchange. Like you say, I've invested tens of thousands of pounds in my knowledge, not just with Angelic Reiki. I've done life coaching courses, I've done breathwork courses, I've done all kinds of courses. And also as well, my own life's experience. I've walked through the shadows and I bring my own life's experience into that. And, the way you look at it is, like, I was a truck driver for nearly 20 years. And, I was working 70 hours a week as a truck driver. There's no way on this planet I could have done 70 hours a week truck driver and 30 hours a week as an Angelic Reiki master teacher. Because I did actually do that in the beginning, and the universe went, no, we want you doing this full time. Yeah. Now I do this full time. Now I integrate the energies. Now I do more and more courses. I am actually offering a better service for that person to come in, and I feel there should be an energy exchange for that.
No,
they should. Definitely. Of course they should.
And also, I mention it for the simple reason. I meet so many people who, the heart's in the right place. They're doing great things, but life and other people's opinions get in the way. Yeah. And I don't, if any holistical people don't want them to realise that.
We've both been through that, Kev, haven't we? Yeah. You went through that as a medium. I've been through that in the short journey as an Angelic Reiki healer as well. You feel that they expect, because you're just doing that.
Yeah. I think ultimately a lack of knowledge, because what you'll do is you'll get the average person on the street and they'll go, if it's a gift, well, you should be doing it for free. And you're like, well, we live in a Western world. How long can you survive without a wage?
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, energetically, the way you got to look at it is, us healers, we have to do our training in the higher dimensions anyway on the other side. Right. Okay? And we've also been through many, many lifetimes of persecution. We've been burned to the stake. We've been probably, persecuted by who in many, many lifetimes to get these healing abilities off the planet. But obviously, it's an absolute honor. If you think about it from a soul perspective, before I entered this planet as a human being, I actually sat down with the angels and I said, okay, so we're going to work together on planet Earth. Okay, so you imagine how much of an honor that is at a soul level to do that.
Obviously,
amazing.
Exactly. Yeah,
amazing.
If you can put yourself in that mind space to comprehend that, it's unbelievable.
Of
Fantastic.
course,
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think all of us would love to think before we come down here, we have, we're all part of a soul group family or something, and we all said, look, you go down, I'll watch your back.
Do you know the best people that I learned that from was people who weren't even spiritual.
Right.
And these are the likes of your Dolores Cannons, the likes of your Michael Newtons. Who were just hypnotherapists. And they've got pure clout. I mean, Michael Newton's regressed over 7,000 people in America, and that's where he got his findings and his case studies from. Now, I always say 7,000 case studies are all coming up with the same thing under hypnosis. That's got
There's
clout.
something in that,
you know what I mean? That's not just my belief. That's, you know.
And without going too much off track there, because they're finding these studies now with like DMT, which is microdosing, which is taking people to these other dimensions.
Of course,
and they're all coming back with the same stories and the same people they've met, which is interesting. So before we go off subject as well, so at the moment as well, I know you mentioned you've got an upcoming retreat.
Yes.
Can you just explain to the viewers about your retreat? And also, is there any spaces left?
Yes, there is quite a few spaces left up to now. We're actually holding it up in Lake Windermere. It's in May. It's actually on the website. But yeah, so there's going to be like gill scrambling in there. You know, we're getting your little protective helmet on and rock shoes on and getting into the rivers. But there's going to be like a cacao ceremony. There's going to be like breath work. There's going to be, open mic night on the Saturday evening where everyone brings the gifts into circle. I'll get my guitar out. So it's going to be lovely vibe. Lovely vegetarian food as well. High vibe vegetarian food. Opening ceremony, closing ceremony. It's just going to be full of we're going to have a masseuse on site as well. So if anyone wants to book a little one-to-one massage, obviously we're there. If anyone wants any angelic one-to-one Reiki, but we've set a lovely program together. If anyone wants to have a look on the website, all the bullet points are there. So yeah, it's going to be beautiful. And we're also in the process now of looking at doing a retreat. Now, it's not on the website just yet, and obviously the podcast getting done in February, so by March we're actually going to be doing one in India as well. October time. Navaratri is it called, Indian holidays over there, and then obviously we're going to go up to the Himalayas. We've got an ashram already to look at up there, and obviously we'll be doing trips like the Taj Mahal. We'll be going to the Jesus tree.
Big plans.
Yeah. This is just the beginning. I mean, retreats is like, and we've got 4 space holders for that. My partner Lisa, a good friend of mine, Greg, and his missus Sam, and their knowledge is off the charts as well. So.
Fantastic. Wonderful.
Now, so it seems like at the moment you're in a very good place. Yes. Yeah. You're doing. It sounds like you've got great things lined up.
Yeah.
You're going to go on to. I'm sure you're going to go on to massive and great things, healing people, helping people, and traveling the world and all the rest of it. That's great, but it's not always been like that, has it?
No.
Right. So
definitely not.
We could sit here and give everybody the unicorns and the rainbows and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But for people to really understand why we're sat here now having this conversation, we have to sort of get into how we got here.
Yes.
Okay. And normally what I always say to everyone, we say it every week, there's normally some kind of trauma or there's normally some kind of past event. And what happens is in these events, whether it's a near-death experience, whether it's financial loss, losing parents, whatever, life has a way of taking you in 1 or 2 different directions, and it affects everybody in different ways.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, I've read your book. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Right. So recommend the book.
Thank you.
And we'll put it all on the website.
Yeah, we will.
After Now, so I want to take you back to, you would have been about the age, I'm not going to go too far back, but I'm going to go back to the age of around about 18 to 20, that age.
Yes.
Okay, we don't need to go back into the childhood thing, that stuff. Although there's stuff there in the book, but I'll let people read it. Because for me, the first major trauma, and you might tell me differently, was the death of a gentleman called Graham.
That's correct, yeah.
Who was like a brother to you.
That's right.
He was your cousin.
Yeah.
And awful circumstances, a night out, some girl gets in everybody's face. Fella comes over, punches Graham, knocks him into a road. Unfortunately, a car comes along, knocks him down, runs him over.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. And then from that as well, if that's not bad enough, then the court case unfolds and this person almost sort of takes no responsibility, has a very should I say, a cocky attitude to it all.
Yes, that's right.
And unfortunately, a young fella who comes across as a really nice fella who wouldn't be that type of person to be involved in trouble and fighting.
Exactly.
And then obviously loses his life. Now, anyone who's lost anyone close to him knows that is traumatic.
Exactly.
So for me, am I right? That would be your first big traumatic episode in your life.
Massive trauma as a young man at age 18. Yeah, because not only did we grow up together like a brother, because my mum actually looked after him from when he was 8 weeks old when his mum went to work, so we were very close in it. We all lived in the same road, went on holidays together, but we were actually working together as well, me and him, working with his dad. So yeah, he'd only just started going out, Graham, and I was his big cousin. You know, I was always looking at me. I had my younger brother and 3 cousins to look after, and then soon come along was Alex, my foster brother. So I was always like the one who looked out, and yeah, it was just so uncanny how that happened that night, because I had to jump in the first taxi because I had my head about me, and there was 4 walking up that way and 6 left behind. So I said, I'll run up with them and we'll get 2 black taxis home. So yeah, I mean, I'll never forget the phone call waiting for them to come back in the house. Yeah, and I felt like spaced out and absolutely shocked to the core as a young man. But I'll say, I mean, I carried him at the funeral. I was the only one on his mum's side of the family that represented his mum's side, and it was his dad's brothers and stuff, and his granddad, that side, who carried him. I was the only one who represented our side of the family as a young man. But I'll tell you something now, it was like a dream, but when it really hit me was when I went back into work. Because I looked at the machine he was supposed to be on, and he wasn't there. And that's when it really hit me then, that he wasn't coming back. Even though I'd been in the funeral and carried him and everything, it was like a dream. But you know, it's that was my first major panic attack, walking in, and I walked past his machine, walked straight in the toilet and just burst out crying. I'll never forget it. And obviously as well, even before we had seen the machine, we had to meet in the canteen, and he was a guy, because I'd been off for a couple of weeks, he was sat in my chair. You know, you get your own allocated chairs, and Graham's chair was empty and he was sat in my chair, and he went to get up to give me my chair back, and I said, no, you're okay. And I went and sat in Graham's chair. So that was like, everyone was just like looking at me, you're okay, Kevin. Just couldn't look at the chair empty. But then obviously all that, and the emotion was just overwhelming as a young man. Even now it's still...
I mean, I know we've lost recently, we've lost our best friend, but at an older age. Like, you know, my best mate killed himself last year. And but I mean, I know when you're sort of 18, we had a similar story where someone we didn't know but died in front of us, kind of thing, and the shock and the effect it has on you, it's quite hard to explain, really. I know people just say, oh, you know, it's life, you have to get it. It doesn't really work like that. It's deep, isn't it? Now, from the shock of all that, I know you had a young fella who come to live with you. Was his name Alex?
Alex, yeah.
And you actually come across, because Alex brought into your life Sylvia Brown.
That's correct, yeah.
Now, Sylvia Brown, I've read a bit of Sylvia Brown. I like Sylvia Brown. In fact, probably one of the first books I read when I was younger was probably Sylvia Brown, things like that. But that sort of resonated with you, probably because how you were feeling at the time as well, and the emotions, and you were probably... I'm not saying you were looking, but you probably would have needed something, and then this book's fell into your lap, and things sort of come into your life when you need them.
Exactly, yeah.
And so obviously reading through them pages, you would have felt, you know, a little bit of a connection there, and some deep. Yeah. But in your actual reality life then, do you think the death of your friend was what sort of sent you on a bit of a self-sabotage spiral, or was it a mixture of other things?
Yeah, I'd say my behaviour when Graham died, I become a lot more protective, because we were with a big group of young lads. I think something just snapped in my mind a little bit. I was very protective, but to the point where it was like I wouldn't even let anyone say boo. Right. It was like I've become very protective of the group of lads that we were with.
There was a lot of anger there, is it?
Yeah, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a lot of like getting there first, because growing up in Ayton in Liverpool, it's a dog eat dog.
Yeah. Was there a lot of blame on that night around the other people who was with him, or was there a lot of angerness, or did any of you fall out? Or
I think there was a couple of people we could have pointed the finger at, you know, the one who caused the trouble or whatever, but we never, we didn't want to do that.
Because at that age it happens, doesn't it?
Exactly.
We have nights out.
Yeah, we didn't want to do that. It was always something going on, and it was just something that got absolutely out of control.
Yeah.
And the uncanny thing is, you know, the people were around him while he was knocked unconscious on the floor, and actually there was a lamp out on the street, and the driver wasn't speeding, he wasn't over the limit, and, you know, when the crowd dispersed, the driver couldn't see him. He thought it was a bin bag in the road and went over him.
Oh my goodness.
So, I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that could have happened. You know, the crowd could have even said, stop to the car. It was just meant to be. It was just one of them.
It's amazing. I mean, obviously, when good things happen in life, we think, it's fate. But the thing is, it also, we know there has to be duality. So good things happen, obviously, it's fate, but also bad things happen. And it's
spiritual growth.
Do you know what I mean? Now, listen, it's very hard, especially at the time. It's very hard to have these conversations with people who have lost someone. You can't turn around to someone who's just lost someone and say, do you know what? Probably part of the bigger plan. Do you know, it's probably come down to us, so you can understand loss. That's just not a conversation.
That conversation,
no, it's just not but then from that, I know you went on and you met Joanne.
That's right.
And then I read in the book there. So I wanted to ask you there. So you'd started a relationship, and you fell over in love with Joanne. But then you found out she was already pregnant.
That's right.
Right now, what I just wanted to ask here, because I didn't really get it in the book. So 3 months into the relationship, she found out she was pregnant.
To a previous relationship.
So when she was with you, did she know that she was pregnant and hadn't told you?
No, she just thought she was late with the period, basically.
Right.
That's how it worked.
Because I'm thinking well, if she was 6 months pregnant, did she not realise she'd missed a few periods before?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is it.
You know, little things.
And I think it was the lifestyle, with the party lifestyle and things like that. And then obviously if you're having the pill and whatever, she was probably a little bit blasé there, but obviously she did tell me 3 months into the relationship, and I was only a young man, age 18. I was like, it was the same year Graham died that I met her in the summer after the February Graham died, and I just said, look, you know, you're carrying someone else's child. I hope you understand that, you know, it's very tough for me. But the minute her daughter was born, Laura, a week later, I said, bring her round, and then I said, look,
I thought that was great, because to be honest, I tried, whenever I was reading your book, I did this with other people, I tried to put myself in different positions, right, and all different angles, because I think it's important to look at things. Now, unless you're in that position, I think I would find it quite difficult if someone else was carrying someone else's child. So I could understand that. And then I'm thinking, oh, you really love someone, so you want to stay with them. But that must be
first love. It was my first love. So there was a bit. I mean, that was like 2 losses in the same year.
It's two massive.
But then obviously at the end of the year, I rekindled when Laura was born, and I said, well, she's here now. Let's have another go.
And I love that.
And he's a young man as well.
Once she's gone, then your relationship, you got back together, and you enjoyed a period of time, what was quite good.
6.5 years until.
And then obviously your own first child come along as well, didn't it?
Within that relationship.
But then what I remember is, so like obviously back then, work was drying up and things were not great on the work front. So you took yourself down to Portsmouth, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I got offered a job working for an agency called Sea Life, and he put me through like my firefighting, you know, health and hygiene, stuff like that down in Southampton. And literally the agency, I went down with my mum because my auntie lived in Portsmouth. My mum said, I'll come down and you just go back and forth to Southampton and I'll stay with your aunt for a bit as a bit of support. And as soon as I finished the firefighting course on that day, the agency rang me and said, right, you're all qualified now. Do you want to jump on your first ship tonight? And I was like, wow.
That was quick.
Oh wow! But yeah, I did a year at sea, like 2 weeks on, a week off, 2 weeks on.
But that's a big thing, because so you've left. Obviously, there would have been 2 kids born then.
That's right. There was Laura, and then my daughter,
and then your daughter Megan. And then you've gone down. So now you're working away from home, which is difficult. My dad used to always work away from home, and I know it causes different environmental setups and all the rest of it. But from what I remember as well is you used to enjoy a little bit of a party when you're on the ship.
Just a bit too much, yeah.
So and then when what I want to get to further later on when we get to it, when did you start like the alcohol and then obviously drugs later on or cocaine. When does that start? Was it on that shit period or is that later? Or when was your first sort of taste of...
I was never into the alcohol, never into it. I'd say it was more after Graham died. I had a couple of other experiences going out. I stopped going out in the rave scene and more come back to home, like in the local pubs. And it was only when the local pubs started drinking, maybe 2021, properly drinking pints, that's when obviously the cocaine was introduced then as well. So,
right, okay. And we'll come back to it as well, but I just ask because obviously from a drinking point of view, how does it start? Like obviously it starts when you have a couple and then you have a couple more. But is there a certain thing where you feel like I'm sort of dependent on this, or like I need a drink, or because I can't. Obviously, I can never put myself in there. I've never smoked in my life. I don't drink. I'm a bit adamant, like you know what I mean. But I just wanted to try and put myself in your shoes, as in, you know.
Yeah, I think I was a product of my own environment, you know, like we were brought up during the rave scene. It was all about everyone living for that weekend vibe, you know. It was like, oh, can't wait till Friday, can't wait till Saturday, you know. You lived for the weekend. So I think it was just like that, like you say, that programme. And then obviously you're taking the rave scene then into the pub scene, and you still, like, you sat there at 11 on a Saturday morning because you've worked all week and you're drinking all day, and then obviously you need something to keep you going, and that's when the other stuff was getting involved. And but I think as well, when you suffer with trauma, you know, just something happens. I mean, obviously I can go back to your chakras again. Obviously it can, you know, it affects your sacral chakra heavily, because that's the one that houses your emotions. And when your sacral chakra is out of alignment, that's what can cause addictive behaviours, i.e. drinking. It's why people emotionally eat, drink, take drugs, whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. It all stems from, like you say.
And do you think that blockage and that emotional thing was still something you were carrying maybe from the death of Graham?
Yeah, and not realising it. So it's like, you know, when you've suffered trauma, it's like you need to go to the extreme. Like you need to be the last man standing in the kitchen at 6 o'clock in the morning, because because you're not getting the natural flow of emotions. You're having to go to the extreme to feel satisfied.
Was this like an ego thing that was taking over then at that point, in terms of being the man, the protector, like you said, being the guy that people will look up to? Maybe you're the last man standing at the end of a night. It's almost like,
give us another shot. Here we go.
So just bring in there, because obviously through your childhood and everything else, right? What I found is with people, a lot of spiritual people, right? It's almost like, even without, I know it sounds a bit egotistical or whatever else, but there is a little feeling like you feel different.
Yes, most definitely.
And I know it sounds a bit, but there is. When you're a kid, and this is the best way I describe it. So even when you would have been out drinking and you were with all your mates and everything else, sometimes you're just looking at everyone else and you're thinking, you don't even feel like you're in that bubble with them. You just completely feel separate, and you just feel, even you could be tanked up and you just feel, this is not what I'm here for. You know, and you know, people might just think, oh, you fucking arrogant bastard, or because you feel, no, it's not that I feel special, or I feel, it's just that I feel like I've got a bigger purpose. I feel like I've got a reason. Now, I don't know if you had this feeling as a child.
I did always have a feeling, like I used to always think, is this it? You know, even when I become a truck driver, great job, you know, like I'd never be out of work. Is this it?
More to it.
Yeah, there's got to be more to life than this.
Something. There's a little thing pulling on you in there.
Yeah, definitely. You know,
it's funny, and a lot of I speak for myself there, but also when I speak to other
finding
people,
your soul path, and it's that mission that we're all on.
And I know, because later on, what happens is every time you try to go back to normality, if you like, or a truck driving, I bet you, without even meeting you before, stuff would have happened what pulled you away from it, because the spirit have a funny way of like getting you back on track to doing
sometimes you get kicked up the fucking ass, don't you? That's the thing.
Well, thing is, before you get to the good stuff, sometimes you have to keep going through all the bad stuff,
of course, because you're getting all your life's experience there as well, aren't you?
I asked this question, I think it was with Adam White, the book fan, and I said, wouldn't it be just amazing if everything was just like roses and rainbows and we all blah, blah, blah. And to be fair, he summed it up quite well, because he said, but if you've come down to earth and everything was just great, there would be no
Yeah.
So and that's a good way of looking at it, because like you think, why have I gone through all this trauma, all this pain? Why is the world? But the thing is, without that, you never know what the good stuff is, do you? You never search for any.
Exactly. But this is it. I mean, we can go back to like the Michael Newton, where we come down here to experience diversity, because you can't experience negativity on the side.
Yeah.
You've got it. So this is what I always say. What is the goal on a soul level, without sounding too airy-fairy? The goal is to become an ascended master. What's an ascended master? Someone like the Christ, without sounding religious, the Christ, the Buddha, the Krishna, whatever it is, to know what you are in a human body. So how can you become an ascended master and, until you've experienced everything what the universe has to offer, light and dark? So, it's like even when Jesus was on the cross, like, forgive them, Father, for they don't know what they do. And, he could see the higher purpose, that they, as perpetrators, we're going to all end up back at home, and we're going to sit there probably going, oh, I can't believe I've done that, and back again, do another soul's journey, So, so that's what we aspire to be. And how can we, like I said, how can we become that ascended master unless I know now what it's like to suffer with trauma, etc., and we need the darkness to expand consciousness.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's it. And it's constantly expanding to do that. Yeah, so, okay, so then I know, so you come back to Liverpool, and you obviously, you would have been with Joanne a few more years, I think, but then suddenly things were sort of working out.
Yeah.
Relationships or whatever. And you decided that relationship broke down, didn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
Was it that when you decided, look, I can't stay in this area, there's been too much negativity, relationships, Graham and everything else, and then you took yourself off to Manchester?
It was when Joanne died.
So you only, so
when Joanne died, yeah.
So because that's what happened. So because you ended up living a few doors up, didn't you?
That's correct.
From where Joanne lived, and then she was with a new partner by this point.
Yes.
And then an ambulance pulls up outside. Everybody's like, "What the hell's going on?" And it's like, I think something's happened to Joanne.
Yeah.
And then you get the news, what everyone would be dreading, is unfortunately Joanne's dead.
Yeah. Exactly.
So now, not only have you lost your close cousin brother, now you've lost your first love of your life. Yeah. Okay, I know you're not together, but she's the mother of your kid. You still would have had emotional feelings. Yeah. You get the news, obviously. Joanne's passed, which is obviously going to bring up all kinds of emotions and everything else. I think you were seeing someone else at that time as well?
I was with my youngest daughter's mum, Kelly, at the time.
Kelly, yeah. That's right. So, and then obviously all that, basically you put everything together and you're like, whoa, I just need to get away from all this.
It was heavy, yeah.
So during that period where you're sort of living just up the road from Joanne and you're with Kelly and you've had another kid, did you go through a period there of just work and happiness and family stuff, or was you still having a drink there? Or
that was, I mean, Kelly in hindsight was pretty good for me, really, because she got me away from the cocaine for a bit.
Right.
She caught me having a little dabble in the bathroom one time when I just got together, and she went to see the dad or me, so it chose a bit of, I wasn't probably addicted to it by then anyway, and I was still having a drink with her over weekend and stuff like that, I was only in my mid-20s then, 24, 25, going 26, but yeah, so I come away from it, cocaine for about 5 years.
Right, so you had And during that period, was there any anything to suggest any spiritual stuff, or was the Sylvia Brown thing still
Sylvia
playing?
Brown was coming up quite a bit,
still playing on your mind?
Yeah, so it was like, I think what Sylvia Brown actually done was help me, even though it was a massive shock, and I was devastated what happened to Megan's mum, in the back of my mind, even when I was feeling these emotions, Sylvia Brown was there. Right. Knowing it on a soul level, something was going on, and she calls them blueprints as opposed to soul agreements. Right. And then obviously, even my mum was like, because when I moved to Manchester, it was to be close to my mum. It was Kelly's idea, actually, to help with Megan, because Megan, I fought through the courts for Megan to come and live with us, and then obviously we had our own daughter then just after Joanne died. So Joanne died in September, and we had Ellie in the November. Right. Oh, so and obviously I won full custody of Megan on my birthday in November. Right. So there was a lot going on. We got married as well. Got married with Kelly in December. Wanted to show the course. She was coming to a secure family unit. But what happened is, after a few months of trying to play happy families, we were quite happy in my nan's house. It was the house where I was a baby in the cradle and stuff. But small town mentality. There was a lot of people siding with the other side of the family, not knowing the full story. Obviously, there's always two sides to every story.
You're feeling the pressure then.
Yeah, and it was Kelly was getting snarled at the gates, picking Megan up from school, things like that. It was unfair. She was only young herself, and so it was her who decided, let's go to Manchester, and we went out to Manchester, made a little go of it. Yeah, happy family for a bit, but then I feel Kelly was suffering with a lot of postnatal depression, and she wanted to move back to Liverpool, but there's no way. Like Manchester was like my sanctuary, you know what I mean? There was no way I was going back to Liverpool. With what I just got Megan settled in school, so Ellie was only 18 months old, and Kelly wanted to move back to Liverpool, so we just decided to go our separate ways. I obviously kept Megan up there, she moved down with Ellie. And there was another breakup then.
It's
obviously,
more trauma,
it's more trauma.
But when you're in Manchester, you had a brainwave.
Yeah, we call it a brainwave.
You had a brainwave to open. Well, we do as we're young. We have these ideas, and we think, we go in with it with the best intention.
Of course,
so you decided to open a wine bar. Yeah,
it was my mum's business. She was got this big building. She was going to open it like a. It was all like so many different businesses under one roof, that's why they called it Boulevard. So you just wanted like somewhere where people can have a coffee, a panini, go and get their hair done, this, that, and the other. And one of our cousins up there in Manchester, because as you can imagine, big Irish family were dotted everywhere, came up and went, this would make a lovely wine bar. And I was just helping my mum as a labourer. I went, I'll do that with you. And my brother went, I'll do that with you. Like a license to print money, basically. So we decided to go in, but we put a lot of money in each, £50,000 each, going back, 17 years ago. It's still a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
So, but obviously I released a lot of equity in the home, this, that, and the other. And and it was circumstances that basically never worked out, because there was an Indian restaurant next door and they owned the car park. It was a private car park. So we had to, in order to get A4 planning, we had to get permission from them to open up A4 planning for a wine bar. You still needed so many driving spaces. So they agreed to it. Then we gave them the idea of opening like a hand car wash, because we were thinking, well, if we're doing paninis and a coffee over day, that'd be a great little bit of football coming through the door.
So you're having little ideas to really push it.
But what happened is they applied to the council, and the council said, no, you're already allowing Boulevard customers to use it over day, and the car park's not big enough. So they actually turned against us, the Indian restaurants, even though we were enhancing their business on a Friday, Saturday night, because they told us, they actually said, oh, well, it's our car park, so we'll start clamping your customers then.
Oh, no.
Stop using it over day. Yeah. And obviously, my day trade went under, and it couldn't be sustained on 2 busy nights. Yeah. It was busy Friday, Saturday night. We just needed that little bit of 500 quid in profit.
I understand,
The reason why I just wanted to make sure we brought that little bit in is because what I'm trying to do is I'm building the story, because what's happened is, right, so as you're going along now and you're sort of going from the age of sort of 17, 18 and we're into our mid-20s, early 20s, and then what you've had is you're experiencing major trauma events. So, and I know it's completely different things, but so the death of a close one can be as traumatic, believe it or not, as financial loss of everything. Because you've put so much energy in it. It's almost like a baby, and then you lose it. Right? Yeah. And then also as well, it's not just at the end, because to be honest, when it's over and the doors close, that's almost like a relief. The pressure is the 6 to 12 months
of trying to keep it going.
Trying not to lose your baby, and knowing, like, look, every penny what comes through, you're juggling. So your mind's, so you're under all this pressure.
Plus
and
stress. It's exhausting.
And then you throw on top of that, relationship breaks up, and then so in your home life you've got all that stress and everything, and then, like, you know, what a lot of people do is they'll say, oh, do you know what, should we try and make it work and go on holiday, or should we have another kid, or should we get married? And some people get married, and when really they're thinking, I shouldn't have fucking married her. Do you know what I mean? No, because this is what people do. Because they think
there's a plaster in it. You're trying to find
they're putting a plaster over a broken thing. Now, so what the picture's starting to paint, like, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of pressure and all the rest of it. And then obviously now you put yourself in a sort of a wine bar scene where there's drink and you already like a drink. And then also because I've been to Lytham St Anne's, and I tell you what, there's a lot of owners up there who like a bit of snuff up the nose. Some naughty people. And so it's an environment. Allegedly. Sorry. I could take you to a few, but anyway, so what I'm trying to say is it's an environment where it could breed.
Most definitely. And that's what happened.
Especially with stress.
Exactly, because I can, coming from someone who's never took it, but I know people who have, and I know people who are dependent on it.
Oh, yeah.
So then what happens is, first of all, it starts off, look, it's a release, it makes me feel good, it makes me feel changes state of mind.
Yeah.
But then obviously what comes is a few little white lies, a few little...
It's escapism though, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's right. And so I'm trying to build the picture of understanding what... Because it's not like you just got up one morning and said, I'm going to drink, I'm going to take... No, do you know what I mean? And it's important to realise that. Whether people agree with it, disagree with it, whatever, but it's important to get the full picture.
Everyone's journey is different,
journey. Okay, so that's what. So obviously the wine bar closes down. You're stuck in Manchester, and I remember reading in the book there. So you lose your license, which then is a nightmare because you can't travel over to see your kid, which again is more pressure.
Yeah, loads of pressure.
And then from more pressure, presumably I'll probably have an extra drink, or I'll probably have a bit more stuff up my nose. This kind of stuff. That's the kind of pressure that involves, isn't it?
So I broke up with my wife. I lost my home. I lost my car. I lost my license, and I lost my business in the space of 12 months.
Yeah.
So everything, So you're on the floor at this point.
Yeah. So at this time now, you're thinking the whole world's against me.
Yeah.
Without doubt, this is what you'd be thinking. Why me? Look what you've done to me, God. You've took Graham away from me. You've took Joanne away from me. Now you've took my wife away from me. Now you've took my kids. Now you've took my...
Yeah.
You get the picture.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, is this where things sort of spiral out of control more?
Yes, definitely.
Can I ask before you tell the story? So were you? Because I think most people would go down this route of victim mentality. Then, and so I
just become a jacked lad even more.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I was like
you imploded.
Yeah, but because I couldn't go back on the trucks, I started working with a guy who used to come into the bar. Actually, he was a really nice South African guy. Jonathan, his name was. I wrote about him in my book as well, and he was looking for a second man. Just to help him lift some stuff, furniture. We do house removals, house clearances, shoveling shit basically half the time. I remember the first day on the job, I actually threw my ring up because I was shoveling all the stuff in the garden and it made me sick. But I thought, you know what, I think he was paying me something like 40 quid a day.
But he's cashing in.
Exactly, I was still having Megan, I was still getting looked after here and there, but yeah. So, but yeah, and I think as well, like we do a little bit of scrap money, and that was like me little drink money and stuff like that. And I was doing all right. I was still earning £500-600 a week back then, and
it's good.
You know what I mean? The equivalent of it, and then obviously whatever I could get my hands on with scrap metal and bits and bobs. So yeah, I seen it as a challenge. I mean, they had bailiffs knocking on my door, and it was like that film, Catch Me If You Can. Like people going, why don't you just declare yourself bankrupt? No, if I just dodge you for a few years, I'll be all right.
Do you know what? We're all guilty of that. But then through that, obviously, because at some point as well, then you decide you end up in a caravan in your mum's garden.
I do.
Back at Liverpool.
Yeah. After 10 years in Manchester, I did.
So you did 10 years in Manchester. So you're mid-30s by this point then.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So you're mid-30s, but you end up by hook or by crook back in Liverpool, which was probably a bit of a gut wrencher because you probably thought, I don't want to go back. But then,
Yeah.
But this is where you meet Will, innit?
It is, yeah.
Now, Will's got a lot to answer for, both in a good way or a bad way, right? Because, again, if you look at it as part of your lessons on life and all the rest of it, he's come into your life and he plays a role.
He plays a massive role,
But the thing is as well, this is what I wanted to get as well. So, like, Will's come into your life and he's got a bit of money in the bank, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has,
right. As honestly as, did you you see that as in like this could help feed my drink and drugs, or was that just something that naturally?
It was just, I think what it was, we were just vibrating at the same.
You just met him, and
it was like and as soon as I met him, I felt like I knew him, and it was like, I went, where are you from? I'm thinking I'd seen him his face around the pubs or whatever. He went, from Sunderland, aren't I? It was his accent. I was like, bloody hell, where do I know you from then? It was definitely a soul recognition. But what it was, I was still trucked. I got back on the trucks at this point.
That's right.
Like, yes, you know, we 6, because have a DR10 on your license. I got my license back after 9 months, but no truck company would touch me for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what I mean? 6 years, that's some bloody slap on the wrist, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I was back on the trucks. I was earning decent money, £600-700 a week in my back bin. But then what happened with Will though was he just had like a bit of money in the bank as savings. He just decided to go off on the but he used to like go, will you come on for a pint with me? It'd be like, come here on Monday or Tuesday night, and I go, 12 o'clock, mate, I've got to get my head down. I'm up at 5 in the morning, and then it gets to like 12 o'clock and he go, do you want another one down? I go, oh lads, you know, I've got, and he went, I'll pay you wages tomorrow if you don't go in. And I'd be like, you're going to pay me my wages if I stay off and get on it with you. And he go, yeah. And I go, you know, I had a black book of excuses for me boss, and yeah, that's where it went down, that route. And but he did, and do you know what? He really looked after me, like, you know. But yeah, that was what it was like. I think the universe went right. Because at this point, if you remember in the book, Megan got to a certain age, teenage years, and I said, you know what, Megs, I think it's best to just go and stay with your nan for a month or two, just, you know, you need that like motherly figure in your life. It wasn't like, believe you me, I was trying, but she was like, I was out truck driving, she had her mates in, you know,
it's a difficult time.
Yeah, it is, and she was obviously going through it herself, you know, she was going and turning into a young lady, you know, without her mum. I said, I think it would just do you good just to stay with your nan for a bit. But what happened was that my mum said, do you know what, lad, you've reared her now for like, since she was aged 3 without her mum. She's 14 now. Do you know what, lads? As long as you support her, you go out and enjoy yourself, lads. Well, you get that responsibility taken away. I mean, I'm used to, okay, I'd still be a bit scatty on a Sunday ironing a uniform, to like, you know, not having to worry about that. It was like
on a bender.
Oh yeah, I was working on an agency. I had like 4 agencies on the go. I could go, well, do you know what? They're saying don't bother coming back tomorrow. It's all right. Next day, pick up another phone. Yeah, you can start with us tomorrow.
Truckers can do that though.
Yeah, exactly. I have freedom, and this was before all the roadside testing was coming out as well. So you know, I know you wouldn't get away with it now. Thankfully, it's not ideal, but yeah, with Will, it was like, you know what, it was like fireworks going off. Like we went lads holidays, the shit we used to come out with when we were on it. It was like we just laugh our heads off for days on end. But it was like, come on, let's give you as much as you can take.
Yeah.
Until in the end, your soul's sick of it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
so it sounds like it was like a car crash, you two coming together, if you like.
Yeah.
But ultimately, so like, how bad did things get? How much drink and drugs was involved?
Far too many, and to the point where I'd be up with Will for a couple of days and I'd just write myself up, and then in the end it got to the point where I didn't even want to party like with anyone. I started pushing myself into the room on my own, door locked, and then I started really going into myself. And that's when I knew that the darkness had come over.
Do you think you spiritually were tired then at that point?
I think I was wandering in the abyss spiritually. I think on a soul level, I think my soul was miserable, but my ego was so programmed with the trauma and the wanting to escape, and it was like the soul, like, come on, let's just get back. But it's like, you know, even when I wasn't drinking and after them few days of sobriety, they were days of horror. Mm-hmm. You know, and anxiety and
do you think you suffered with some like long-term post-traumatic stress or depression?
So. Yeah, I think so, because you know, even when like I owned up a little bit, even before I met Will, I actually went into the doctor and said, I've got a cocaine problem. And so the counsellor said to me, okay, take a seat. He said, look, you can't go from addiction. You've got to like plug it with something and give yourself something back. He said, so what's your favourite food? And at the time I said it was steak. He said, okay, put a piece of steak on a plate on a Monday morning. And this was before I got back on the subject. He said, I was just doing shop fitting, and then he said, so every morning you get out and take your sandwiches out the fridge. He said, that's your reward on a Friday for being good. And I went, have you ever had something? A piece of steak? I went, listen, mate, a piece of steak ain't going to cut it on a Friday night for me. I said, you know, the higher you're going to get off of eating a piece of steak to the higher off the line, there's no comparison. But you know what? I felt actually hard done by, because I was like, how can this guy, now if he would have sat in front of me like the way I do with my clients now, I'm like, yeah, that being an addiction, I know what it's like to lose somebody, I know what it's like to go through divorce. I go, what did you do? Give me the tools.
Yeah, the wisdom, haven't you?
But I had to experience that to make me who I am today as well. To have that passion for my clients who sits in front of me.
And you know what, I'm glad you said that as well, because again, I repeat what we say to loads of guests, and finally that it clicks and they understand what we're trying to explain to them. So what you've done there is what we class as mess to message.
Yes.
Right? And it's basically, so somewhere in the world now, there'll be a Kevin Morris 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
Now, the thing is, who's there to save the new Kevin Morris, right? So what we do is, as well, on the education platform, what we're putting together is we help people sort of build the modules and the courses so they can turn their life story and their mess into a message so you can help the future Kevin Morrises.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Then what happens is, so then you go out and you give the seminar and you give the workshop and you give but also as well, anyone in the world can watch the modules. Anyone in the world can watch the educational videos. And then what you're doing is you're speaking from a place of, I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
I know what you're feeling, and I know it because I was there.
Yeah.
I know them little itches that you're getting now, that little temptation, that little lie that you've just told somebody.
Yeah.
I know it because I was there. That was me.
Yeah.
Right? But you are this side of the fence now. Right? There is no one more powerful to help anybody that side of the fence than someone on the other side of the fence.
And who's been on this side.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I always say as well, so like, if you said to someone or met someone that broke the leg and you went, oh, yeah, how are you? And they went, oh, I broke my leg. And I go, oh, no, how you feel? And unless you broke your fucking leg, you don't know how they feel.
Exactly.
Right? And that's exactly the same. So only the person who can turn the mess into a message can deliver the accurate information. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the self-education platform is the fastest growing business in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
$1 trillion industry.
Yeah.
People are dropping out to college and universities, left, right and centre. And what they're doing is they don't want to waste 10 years looking for the answers, what they can get in 2.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because they don't need to waste 10 years. And also, so like we talk about people who are going through a divorce and they've got kids. They don't need to suffer for 10 years. No. They just need to speak to someone, a fella who's gone through a divorce and he's struggling to see his kids. What did you do?
Yeah, exactly.
How did you get over it?
Yeah,
right. Now, okay, you have to go through the grieving part. You have to go through the pain part. But you don't need to waste all them years in your life.
Research.
You know, and so you're a prime example of someone who's got so much to offer there. So with all your other businesses, that might be something you want to look into.
Of course, yeah.
Really, I think, you'd probably sell out seminars straight away.
Yeah, well, that's something I'd definitely be interested in. And a friend of mine who's actually a counsellor said to me, you actually created your own 12 steps.
Right.
Because I've never done the 12 steps.
The 12 steps.
I've never done the 12 steps. I believe it's quite a spiritual way of going on. I've never done it.
Yeah.
But I did create my own, and I actually used the self-help chart to get to my own clients. So
fantastic.
There's plenty of bullet points.
Well, just so you know, so when you're turning your mess into a message, right, what it is, it's called narrowing down your dot.
Yeah.
Right. So what you do is you work things like you might decide, like if I said to you to narrow down your dot exactly, you might say, like, I want to work with men.
Yeah.
Right. Of the age of 25 to 40 or 30 to 40.
Yeah.
Who have gone through cocaine and alcohol addiction, or they're already in it.
Yeah.
Right. Who have lost them. So what you're doing is you're narrowing down your dot to a certain set. Now, a lot of people, this is where they go wrong, because they think, but I want to get the word out to the whole world and tell the whole world. But what you have to realise is, if I just narrowed your dot down to that certain people, you would have more people than you realise who are exactly that dot.
Exactly.
Right, more clients than you could ever imagine in your life. Right? So now you become a focal point to every single one of these people. They all say, you need to go to him. You need to go to him. And then before you know it, you're swamped. And this is where people go wrong sometimes. Like on social media, they think they have to be on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. They think they have to
saturate.
Yeah. So if like your story would not resonate with a single mom on benefits who's just looking to try and pay a rent, that kind. So it's important to narrow down your dot.
Yeah.
So, and this is what we learn as teach people as well, is like, so the platform is, a lot of people get lost, and you have to realize, what are you building? What are you trying to create? Because as soon as you can build a platform so people know what they're getting, you can now offer something special. And then obviously the more financial income you bring and it turns into a business, you can now help people on a bigger platform. So now you're not just helping 1 or 2 people or 10 people. Now you're helping 1,000 people on Zoom in a week. Or now you're doing a seminar to 200 or 300 people at a college university. Do you know what I mean? So
these are the platforms you created, is it?
That's where the Drake Michigan platform's going. So we're putting all this together. So because people have to realise there has to be the foundation and the platform first.
Yes.
Right. So we go back to what's it called. If you're just somebody with a load of experiences, but you don't know where to turn, or you don't set up something properly, you might help one person, or you might talk and help to. But you're not really getting it out there. You're not really. So sometimes you have to come back, work out what your dot is and who exactly it is you want to help, and then it grows even bigger than you can ever imagine. So, but anyway, we've gone off track a little bit, so we'll explain that to you another time. So I want to talk about, so obviously, when you've been on the cocaine and the drink and everything else, this is your first experience as well as of sort of what we want to class as demons, if you like. Now, this could be your own demons in your head, or it could be demons as in from an energy feeling kind of sense. What was your perception of that?
I would say, obviously I have my own demons, as in the program that I was running on. And obviously that I started feeling the energy of demonic entities as well.
Right. So you were aware of that at that time?
Yeah, I was very much aware of it. I did. It's like that thing again about the vibration and frequency, what I mentioned earlier about Nikola Tesla. So the best way to understand vibration and frequency to any of the listeners is, if you're ever going to crack an egg in a pan, and you get a bit of the eggshell in the uncooked egg, it's a bit annoying, isn't it? Then you start chasing it around with the teaspoon and it's not going to the spoon. So the best thing to do is get the other half of the eggshell and just scoop it out, because it's the same frequency. You will get it pretty much straight away. And that's the same. So if I'm vibrating to the universe, alcohol, drugs, whatever, and I've got rips in my aura, I'm easily to infiltrate with lower frequency energies, they're going to attract to me, like the eggshell. Because energy isn't just say by time and space, it's just it just like attracts like. So Dolores Cannon actually touches on it beautifully in a book called Between Death and Life. And what she says is, when people in addiction cross over, they're not always shown the light straight away, and this is where you get the phrase attachments. So what happens is they'll hang out in pubs, they'll hang out in brothels or whatever it is, or drug addicts, and they're getting their loose energy from that human. So it's a bit like their energy will come in and it'll just be like a bauble that sticks on a tree, and there you go, and they can actually put thoughts in your head, go and get another bottle of cocaine, go and get another bag of cocaine. So when you say you're battling your demons, you literally are, and they're feeding off your energy.
I'm going to share something with you, Oscar, now, because this ties into Blackpool for me, doesn't it? It does. So when I was going through all my spiritual stuff and everything else, I went on a stag do for a weekend with I ended up being his best man at his wedding, and basically I'd been doing all the spiritual stuff, so I was open to sort of giving messages and all this kind of stuff, and then I took myself on this weekend of alcohol and binging. I've never been a big drinker, but I started having a few drinks. And one thing led to another where I started feeling not so good, if you like. And it all happened sort of the next day, where I decided to go for a walk around Blackpool because I was feeling like shit, and I mean really bad. I didn't know what was going on with me. And I actually walked down, I don't know if you've ever walked down the centre of Blackpool where the KFC is, and there's a couple of phone boxes and all this kind of stuff in the main high street. And I watched firsthand with my physical eyes all the demons latching onto everybody.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I saw with my own physical eyes vibration and frequency. A spirit allowed me to see that.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most scariest things I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it took you a long time to recover from that.
It really ripped me out of my body.
Yes.
Right? It fucking scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the thing is as well, obviously I was being attacked by it all and everything else. And I ended up taking it home.
Yes.
And then I watched firsthand how it was affecting my children and my wife. Like, it was making them talk different. They were saying things like swearing and acting. And what the fuck? My kids didn't... What is going on? And so, I don't want to bore you with my story.
But
the thing is as well, I did see that firsthand.
Yeah.
But what was amazing, to come back to JC, and we'll come back to him in a bit. Yeah. So that night, it's almost like I was set up like, look, Kev, you need to go and see this now. This is part of your experience. And I ended up absolutely collapsing against a wall, against some metal railings. And I was like trying to throw up. And I was like, hey, if anybody would have saw me, you would have thought I had 10 points and I was off the thing. I hadn't had one drink. But yeah, I couldn't walk. I was fucked. And anyway, as I was to God, I just felt this fucking thing behind me. And as I turned around, fucking Jesus is there on the cross just looking down at me. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? And if the doors would have been open on the church, I would have run in and just said to someone, help me, please. What the fuck is happening to me? Anyway, I stumbled further down the road, all over the place. And then I ended up stumbling in front of a shop and leaning against the glass. And behind me, it was like something out of the film with Keanu Reeves, Constantine. And I could feel this flashing light behind me. And as I turned around, there was a shop, and it was just full of Mother Mary, and Jesus was there again. And I was like, help me. Right. Anyway, so then from there, I stumbled through into the Blackpool High Street, which is where I saw everything, and I can only imagine it was like people committing adultery, people on drugs, people on drink. And I saw firsthand energy, what it does to people without them even knowing it. And then I managed to get into a phone box, and all these things were hitting the phone box and attacking me and all the rest of it. And I phoned my missus and I was like, help. Anyway, but what you're saying, the demons there, it's like, for me, that is what I saw.
Well, as you know, the veil was ripped back for me in 2017, so I was shown everything.
Right.
I was shown everything energetically, what was attached to me. There's beings out there in the lower astral plane. It's not to be afraid of. They're just the bottom feeders. They're feeding off your energy. They've turned against the light for whatever reason it is. They'll all come back to the light sooner or later. But, it is about vibration and frequency. So we do have the clear light of God, pure love, and then we just have different gauges of light all the way down. But like when you get one of them, like the paint pamphlet that you get for Dulux, and it's got like different shades of red, which go really dark and dark and dark and dark, and then it goes really light at the top. And that's what it is. That's what we're dealing with energy. And wherever you choose to vibrate at, I mean, hence why it's called spirits. It's our call is our girl, which brings in the girl. Yeah, that's why it's banned in like Saudi Arabia, etc., etc. So there is a lot of truth behind it. I was shown as well, not like we touched on the point, was I feeling it? Yeah, it was I starting to question it? Yeah, it was. But then obviously after many years of being in the darkness still, I could feel things. I could feel hands touching me. It was becoming, I could see red eyes. It was becoming very, very dark, like sexually, things like that. I mean, I'm a Scorpio anyway, but this was becoming really dark. I could just tell I was getting visions, like getting really psychically attacked. And it was every time I put that shit up my nose as well.
I know it's obviously, because like some people might be thinking, they'll say, it was the drugs that were doing it to you, but could you tell the difference? Obviously you took drugs for a long time, so you knew the difference, didn't you?
Of course I did. I mean, I've took a lot of recreational drugs over the years, and I've never ever seen anything like that, but because I was becoming more spiritually aware, I feel like they do actually show me that.
This is your path now, isn't it?
Exactly.
But do you not think there was any crossover? Just, this is not me, I'm just so other people what's cool. So, because I think in your book you'd gone into a period where you were going on the internet a lot, you was looking into things, trying to find out information. Now obviously our brain is trying to father all this information.
Yeah.
Then you mix that with a little bit of drink or a little bit of recreational drugs or whatever. Could it have been the brain trying to come to terms with, but was you not doing battle with yourself with the drugs and the drink and then the...
Yeah, I mean, it was like, the way I always say it, the first few lines or the first few bevies are great, but then it gets a grip of you. And then what happens is then it just takes you on a journey, and then you one evening turns into 24 hours. Before you know it, it's 48. Then you're blotting out, and then it's 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and then you're in absolute total hell. Do you know what I mean?
Crazy.
Because that stuff keeps you awake, and you just want to keep on going. The thought of coming down off it is just not... it's unimaginable. Like, I had to just drink till I was absolutely in oblivion to come down, and then it's like, for me, the addiction of 4 or 5 day benders was a bit like walking to the edge of a cliff in the middle of the night, not realising it's the edge of a cliff. It's absolutely pitch black. You fall off the cliff, you land in the sea, you're just so disorientated, and you're actually fighting to get to the surface to catch your breath, but you're actually that much in a panic, you're actually swimming to the bottom. So you can get high on you can get high on life with obviously exercise, breath work, meditation, looking after yourself with self-love. You can fill up on that. But when you step out of the line of love and you start destroying your body, that will actually destroy you. And will kill you. And it actually did take me on my body, as you know, in 2017.
That's right. So, so because we're getting to that stage now where, obviously, and also as well, if I remember rightly, so part of you was literally asking questions to yourself, like you wanted to come away from it. You'd had enough of it. You did.
I was praying every Monday morning when I was getting in a truck.
So part of you was saying, how do I get away from this? And then obviously, I know you've had a few things where it pulls you back and you end up, or crap happens in your life. So it's the natural thing is to go and have a few more bevies or a few more lines. Everyone's guilty of that, aren't they? And but then, when was your first real positive experience, or if you want to just talk us through? Was it JC first, or was it an angel first, or what was your first?
So obviously about 2016, I started looking for answers when I was in a real dark place, and I actually went on YouTube and I was looking up. Something just made me type it, and I was not religious, believe but when you are in a dark place, you pray. And I typed in Jesus Christ. I just wanted to feel the love. I was so far away from love. I was just a shell of a man. I was high. I was high, but I was low. And I looked for it, and I found it in mediums who were channeling them, talking to them. I was like, wow, this is so interesting. This guy who, like, I was brought up a Catholic in school, but then obviously fell away from the Catholic faith. But this is the main guy there channeling. This is really interesting. This is modern day now, talking to this guy from 2,000 years ago. I'm interested in this. This lady called Jamie Butler, massive medium in America, and she's channeling Jesus, and I'm like, wow, I love the way he had like sense of humor, charisma. I was like, wow, he seems like a really good guy, this Jesus. I might get to know him a little bit more. But and then what happened is the week later, I had another relapse, back on it, boom, Jesus Christ again, YouTube. But this woman kept coming up called Pamela AREN. And I was like, I don't want it, I want the other one. Where's that Jamie woman? But must have been Spirit just kept throwing this Pamela up in my newsfeed. So I went, okay, I'll click on it. But as she's talking, as you do on YouTube, you start going through all the comments and, there's a link there. Clicked on the link, bang, I was in Facebook. And it was a spiritual group. And I just loved the way all these people were talking. Like, they were talking love and light, not religious, talking about ETs. And I was like, wow, like, this was my little sanctuary in this little safe
It's gripped your attention there.
Yeah, so even though I was still obviously not walking the path of sobriety, but I was in this place surrounded by loving people, and I loved it. I loved how it was. And it was so guided, that group, because the people in that group actually got me to where I need to be. One of the persons in the group actually told me about Angelic Reiki. Another person got me to go to Canada, things like that. So it was so guided, that group, hence why Pamela's kept coming up in my newsfeed. So then I just went on a little journey of self-discovery. Then these mediums in the spiritual group, they was getting messages to me from my grandparents, and I'm like, I feel like everyone, like, there could be loads of people on this post, and everyone's making a beeline as a medium for me. Spirit's like, give Kevin this message. Jesus is coming through for them. Get Kevin this message. Get this, you need to come out the spiritual closet. And I'm like, I wouldn't even share a Buddha picture on my own wall or whatever it was, a positive meme. I was like, no, this is my little sanctuary here. So anyway, and this is how I started then, going on a little bit of a journey, self-discovery, going to Canada, going here, going there. But then, I was actually visited by an angel. I come back from Canada and in 2017, and it was in the October, and I was really poorly off the flight. You know when you pick something up out of the air conditioning? A couple of days after the flight, I was like really fluey. And all I knew, Archangel Raphael was a healing angel. So I went, Raphael, please come in tonight and just heal me. I feel like shit. And anyway, and my prayers were answered. Like, I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning. And knowing you just wake up, but before you open your eyes, you feel a presence next to you. But I could see my room through while my eyes were closed. But when I looked at my body, all this green energy was flowing all over my body.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And it looked like, like the northern lights all over my body. And I felt his presence, a masculine voice. And then he showed me my picture on Facebook. But this picture, I was a lot more full of light. My eyes were sparkling. I looked a bit grey, the way I do now. A little bit more grey. And I heard the words, January, Kev, January. And I went, oh, okay. And then obviously I opened my eyes and the presence had gone. So I'm like this now. Speaking to people about it the next day, I said, wow, this is a real thing, really. And I knew it wasn't in a dream state because I was very consciously aware. So what happened, that was in the October 2017. In the November 2017, a friend suggested the Angelic Reiki course, so I booked on it, and that wasn't until March 18. And in December 17 came, and I had a relapse. I'd been 6 months sober at this point, but it was Christmas time. I went to a cousin's wedding, and I had a relapse. And it was, I went on a few days bender. And then obviously what happened was back on YouTube, but I was interested in the light, but I was also interested in the dark, not as a dark follower. It was like, well, if there's light and you're in about all these angels, there must be demons and there must be this. But
it's knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And being on a spiritual journey, I wanted to know. So what happened is I opened my phone up and I found this link. I clicked on it, and there was this demonic entity stood in the what's the satanic 5-pointed star?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stood in it. And there was this teleprompter that was coming across the screen, and it went, do you agree? And it was all these instructions, do you agree? And I'm there in my head, and I went, yeah, I agree. And I just said, ooh, and the room just went, ooh. And honestly, and I was wide awake at this point, like it was the middle of the afternoon, but the room just went, woo, 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 woo. And next thing you know, bang, I just seen this tunnel. And as I went through this tunnel, there was a demonic entity. No. I got sucked out of my body. And he did have red reptilian skin. He was about 9 feet tall, Draco with the horns. He had blue, white, yellow stripes, like he was a hierarchy. Yeah, massive. But he had human eyes. He shapeshifted his eyes. These are the reptilian race that we all talk about. Sat me down. But when you get took out of your body, I can actually understand how souls get lost on the other side, because when they make you transition, you just make it normal. Not like when you have a dream, all these crazy dreams, and you think, oh, that's just normal. This wasn't a dream. Okay, this was real. This was like, I've gone from working with my phone to getting sucked out of my body. Obviously got sat down, surrounded by other demonic entities, and then I've still got this bottle of Budweiser in my hand, so I'm still having like me. It was like I was having a drink with the lads.
So you were consciously aware that your body's here, but you also was consciously aware you're out.
I didn't know my body was left behind, but it's like they just put this energy on you where it just seems normal.
Right. Ah.
And then obviously this loud voice come on in my head, and it was like a radio station tuning in. and I went, whoa, what's that? It was right loud in my head. And it was a voice come on, and I knew it was my spirit guide. And I'm like, whoa, I can't, how come I'm speaking to you? I shouldn't be able to hear you. I'm intoxicated. And he went, do you want to come home, Kev? And I went, and I knew what that meant. It meant going home to heaven. And I went, no, I'm all right. I've got it. He went, what about your mission? And I knew we had a mission. It was 2017.
Right.
But I didn't know what it was. Yeah. With the consciousness I was in.
Yeah.
I was just dealing with, and I went, no, I'm all right. I've got it. He went, well, do us a favour. Stop watching that demonic shit on YouTube.
Yeah, sort of shit.
Done. So as soon as that was done, this big demonic went, come with us. So as I started walking, the heavens opened above me, by the way, and the angels were singing. But as I'm turning the corner, Jesus has stood at the bottom of a golden path, and the angels are singing behind him. Lovely, beautiful, picturesque cottages and everything. And he stood there, but he's got this straight face on him, as if to say, I'm here for you. And I was like, but in me mind, I was going, I don't want to go there, because if I go there, I'm going home. I want to get back to my body. I was realising where the hell it was. Yeah. So I started walking down these big concrete slab steps, and as I'm walking down, there's like these like red sandstony rock. It was massive. And as I'm walking down, it's like this opening of a cave, but behind the cave, it was like they showed like there was like this dingy bar behind them in the cave, like trying to lure me in. But there was like these 4 or 5 demonics stood there like dormant, but they're all fully clothed, but they had the Draco heads and everything. I'm like, whoa. So I stopped, but every step I was going down, I could feel fear, then amplified by 10, then amplified by 20. I'm a shell of the man I was, sat there with a bottle of blood. I'm shitting me pants.
I was going to ask you, are you fearful of this?
I was shitting me pants, and I felt so disempowered. I felt like a young lad in a situation where I was surrounded by men and I was going to get the shit kicked out of me.
So basically you can feel that you're being pulled towards the darkness, if you like,
yes.
Hell, if you like.
Yes, yeah.
But you're also aware that, Jesus and the angels have said, look, don't go that way.
Doesn't sound like the demons were tempting you. It was almost like they were saying,
come with us.
Get here.
Yeah, they were like...
There was no one forcing you.
No one forcing me. So when I stopped on this land, so we've gone down these big concrete slab steps, and they're huge. So like the size of the room, I'm going down, boom, and every step down it was amplifying the energy of fear. But when I stopped, like, it's weird because I was getting another reminder, because Yeshua and Archangel Michael walked past. He doesn't have wings, by the way, over there.
Right.
Yeah, but I just knew it was him. You just know it's him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're walking past and having a conversation. It's like they're just checking me out, just there. So I just stopped, and I was like, I knew it was them, but I was too engrossed with what was going on here. So anyway, I'm like, can I give this a miss? That's what I said to him. Yeah. I went, can I give this a miss? And you can tell he's pissed off, and he's like, it is your free will.
I was going to say, is it free will?
He said, it is your free will. And I said, yeah, I think I'd like to give it a miss. So with that, as I'm walking up these other steps, like a narrow steps, so quickly out like a step of stairs, thankfully, not them big long ones that I was walking down. As I'm walking up these steps, I remember the prayer that helped me with the 6 months of sobriety, and it was something that someone gave me in that spiritual group, and it goes, please, Lord Jesus Christ, come into my life, come into my heart, come into my soul. Please remove any low vibrational energies and never to return in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. That's what I was saying. As soon as I started muttering that prayer, and I got to the top of the stairs, Yeshua was on my right shoulder, Archangel Michael was on my left, like big brothers. Yeah, and the demonics are at the top of the stairs now. Obviously, the law of physics doesn't work the way it does here than it does over there. And they turn around and shit themselves. You can see them actually shit themselves. But I'm still disempowered, and like you can tell that they just want me to be scurried back to safety. So it was like, then it was decided for me to be taken back. But this one demonic entity walked with me back. It must have been their job to take me back to my body, because as they brought me out of it.
Right.
That's what I'm feeling. But as I'm walking through the thickest of rainbows. And I mean, like, not like the thickest of fog, but it's all rainbow.
The colours.
It's all rainbow. And I can just see him, like, from here to you now, but he's just in, he's going, you know, trying to guide me home. And before you knew it, I actually come through my bedroom wall, and it was the mirror. When I'm thinking back now, it was actually the mirror that came through, like a big oblong mirror. And I sat on my bed. There was about 2 or 3 of them around, and they obviously hadn't finished with me yet, these demonics. And they're going, "You all right, Kev?" And I'm going, "Yeah," and I'm fearful, but I'm thinking, do not show these fear. And they know I'm fearful because they know everything. But I'm going, "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm all right." And they're going, "You sure?" But then they start projecting the worst shit in my mind's eye that you could ever imagine. Blood, guts, maggots, you name it, scabs on skin, just all like trickling blood. It's just like, and I'm getting psychically attacked from them. So what happened is, as I'm thinking, just don't show no fear, I actually lay on my bed. And I'm lying there, and the next thing you know, it's like, it's very surreal. I'm seeing all these images, and the next thing you know, I jump up and I'm in my body, and I'm like, whoa, what happened there? You know what I mean? I'm like, what the fuck happened there? And don't forget, I was awake when that happened, but it got sucked out of my body. So I've worked with probation, I've worked with lads in jail, heroin addicts, you name it. And nobody said to me, "How do you know you were psychotic?" I went, "I'll tell you what." I said, "I'll tell you something." I said, "I've took lots of drugs." I said, "But I'm not here to convince you." I said, "If it was imagination or divine inspiration," I said, "whatever it was, it just shows you." I said, "Even if you think I imagined it, it shows you how powerful the mind can be." I said, "If I can imagine myself walking away from 20 odd years of addiction, if I can imagine myself getting myself sober, imagine myself then going on a path of becoming an Angelic Reiki Master Teacher, inspiring thousands of others, healing others with anxiety and depression." I said, my job is not to convince you what got that spark onto my path. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, it has to be deep, it has to be profound, and that's why I'm sat here today. I said, it's the aftermath, what come from that situation, that is the most important.
Fantastic. It's a brilliant message, that.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
No, that is
fantastic.
Yeah. So, that's not your first encounter with Archangel Michael and Jesus, though, was it?
No.
Come on, bring in the big man.
Okay, so obviously...
you call him Jeshua, don't you?
Yeshua ben Yosef is...
That's, I believe so.
Yeshua is son.
Yeah.
Yeshua, salvation. Ben is son, and obviously Yosef was son of Joseph.
Right.
Yeshua ben Yosef. Yeah.
See, I gotta be honest. So like on the spiritual stuff, I gotta be honest. I'm one of them. Me, like Critch knows a lot more than me because he does like research and learns stuff. Yeah. I'm pretty much. I just go with the experiences.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I find stuff and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that. I just thought his name was James.
It's a great journey. It's a great journey to have, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So everyone different. So you encountered him again.
I've encountered him a few times.
So let's just bring him in so people can...
Okay, so obviously after that situation, a few other things happened, took on my body again. I explained that in the book, shown other things. But then when I actually said, right, I'd had enough of getting took on my body, I sobered up pretty quickly, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Can't leave that alone. Yeah. And I just thought, do you know what, I'll just go down and get a drink of water. It was probably about 2, something in the afternoon. I can't remember exactly. It was just after dinner time, and I come down. It was in December, and I was absolutely like lovely, sunny, coming right through the blinds. But as I walk in, like whistling my head off, I went bang, and I'm met by this like big, massive like aura of light from the ceiling to the floor, but it was just so like, it was so pristine, this energy. It was just like layers and layers of, not like the static energy on a TV when it goes black and white, when it's like the channels ended. It's like that, but that in love and light. All right, colours and it comes towards me very, very quickly, and I went, whoa, stop. I went, stop, please stop. I went, show yourself, who is this? And it turned out, and it was blue blazer, brass buttons, it was my grandfather in spirit.
Oh.
So over the moon, after what we getting tormented by demonic entities and everything else. So I was so made up, I was so happy to see my grandfather, trying to hug him in spirit form. Obviously I'm in a big, lead weight of a physical body. I was so happy to see him. But then what happened is, I started feeling really sick. Feeling really, really sick. Like in my stomach started heaving. And I knew this wasn't like the alcohol. This was like, ooh. And I was like, ooh, I best run upstairs. So I ran upstairs, trying to be sick. Nothing's coming out, but I'm balking. I'm like, what's going on? Come down the stairs. And I just said, please take this off me. What is it? So next thing you know, this angel just shows in front of me. No wings again, but it's Archangel Raphael. And he's got his hands in my solar plexus and he's dragging all this great creepy energy out and he's flicking all this energy on the floor. But as he's flicking it, it's going back up to our creative source. And he's going, and this angel is so powerful. It felt like a big wrestler's got hold of your shoulders and like, I'm going here, and he's going, sit there. Like proper, like, but in a loving way. Do you get me? Mm-hmm. And he's going through all my chakras. He went right through my throat chakra, his hand went right through, and my voice made a noise like a bloody harmonica. I can't do that, can I? Even no matter how many bloody drugs you take, you couldn't do that. So anyway, but he can talk to me and he's going, these bloody human bodies are so complex, and he's just going on with himself.
And at this point, you're actually physically
seeing him in spirit form. Yeah, in spirit. So as I heard the laughter of Joanne. She come, I recognised her laughing, and the next thing you know, she showed herself. I was like, wow. See Joanne. And then obviously I see Archangel Michael, and like he stood there with his big sword as high as him, and I'm going, do you know what I mean, Michael? He wants to kill me, and he's just going, say, I'm what? In other words, you bloody brought this on yourself, young man. And I'm like, but it was like I was reunited. I see Mother Mary. She was like that playful, and not in a religious sense, just like proper down to earth souls. And then as I'm sat on this chair, and Raphael's going through all my chakras, this golden energy just went wafted in. And as I looked, he's got a cloak on. But it's all like golden, right? And I looked at him and went, as if to say, who's that? And he just turned like that. And he had these like, this band across his head, like golden sparkles, like a Grecian style squares swirling around like that on his band. And he looked and he had the universe in his eyes, like looked like when you see on the movie, like these solar systems, galaxies in his eyes, and he had this lovely like a beard, probably my length, golden beard, and he just smiled at me, and I knew it was him. I'm getting tingles on my legs, so I was so over the moon to see him. But yeah, that went on for 8 hours.
Whoa.
8 hours.
That's an experience, yeah.
I've got Jesus sat on my couch. I've got Archangel Michael sat there while Raphael's going through my chakras. So I'm going to Michael, do us a favour, can you just make sure if there's any portals open up there, you go and shut them down so he gets off. And then, but Jesus has changed now into like this brown knitted jumper with a hoodie on. Yeah. And he's got white jeans on with Jesus sandals on. I went, have you been changed? He was like, as if to say, something a bit more casual. You know what I mean? And I stood there watching me getting all this energy work done on me. And then obviously what happened is I fell asleep with Raphael going, like still working. Like he sat on my couch, but he sat on top of the couch, like where the back of the couch is. And he sat on there, so I sat right in between legs to feel safe. And he's still working on me. And then next thing you know, I'm dozing off, and it was about 11:30 at night, and I fell asleep, and I got this big massive jerk. Now I still get jerks today off the angels, nothing fall asleep doing self-healing, so this massive, he can just jerk your whole body. And I looked, and then Raphael stood in front of me, and he's just pointing upstairs. So I went, as if to say, go to bed. So I went upstairs, went to bed, come down 7:30 next morning, run down the stairs looking for them again, they weren't there. But I tell you what an experience, and I'll never forget that as long as I live. Like I say, that was from my personal experience, from my awakening. Yeah. I'm not here to convince anyone.
No. Yeah. No. But I mean, it's like for your own mind, that's a lot to take in. And I mean, you don't have to explain it to anyone else, because when these things happen in people's lives, you can share the story, but no one ever really feels what you went through. That time.
Yeah, because the judgment that people will put on is irrelevant because it's your experience and it's this is yours.
And ultimately as well, if it's another part of the journey that made you make the transition from your previous life to now healing and reaching out, and for me serving, which for me is one of the biggest things what we have to do. For me, you can have anything you want in this life, but you have to give back. You have to serve back, and then you can have whatever you want. I mean, I've said this a few times, because obviously I try and look things from different angles. So and I always say as well, for anyone to sort of, if I share my stories, right, and I expect anyone to believe me and not say, what a load of bullshit, right, then I have to sit here with a completely open mind. Try and be rational, but also understand. I can understand how them kind of things would happen, and I can believe that because I know what's happened in my life. So, my little thing with JC wasn't as profound as that. In fact, it wasn't even really for me. It was just during a session of healing. I got into all the Reiki stuff and all the rest of it. I wouldn't say that's my calling personally, but it's part of something to learn.
You've experienced it.
And I did have some good times doing it. But I remember, we had a young girl called Hayley. She was about 17 and probably that age, and her mum, Fiona, come and sat in the room at the same time. Her mum sat in the corner. And with mastery, a Shui, a Reiki, the normal Reiki, if you want to call it whatever you want. Anyway, so I'd worked around her body, and I got to her feet, and she had her trainers on and everything. And I'm sort of stood at the end of the bed, and I used to close my eyes because I would get messages as well from family members or spirits, and I'd pass it on to the client after and say, look, this is what I'm getting. Sometimes they would explain their illnesses and that to me, and I'd say, I had one girl once, and a dad come through, and he said, listen, I've only come through, she's got cancer, right? And the girl after was like, what do you mean? And I said, listen, your dad said, just go to the doctors tomorrow. You've got cancer, right? Anyway, she went to the doctors the next day with her mum, and they took her straight into hospital. She had cancer, and they cut it all out, saved her life. Wow. So, her mum said, so little things. So I know miracles can happen. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, so during this healing session, I'm stood with my hands over this girl's feet, if you like, because you have your hands a couple of inches above.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And behind me, with my eyes closed, I could feel a presence come. And what I actually saw was a beautiful, amazing golden light doorway open up. Yeah. Right? And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I always felt calm. I didn't feel scared of that. The energy felt really, really good. And then I felt someone come behind me, and he come onto my left side. And as he got closer, I thought, oh my God, it's Jesus, right? And then the weirdest thing, and I know it sounds a bit camp, he kissed me on my neck, right? And as he kissed me, oh my God, it was the most beautifulest feeling I've ever had in my life. And the best way I can describe it was he picked me up, and he slowly walked down the stairs into warm water, right? And I was suddenly then in the bliss of energy, the pure gold light of energy, and I remember thinking, if this is where you go when you die, I'm okay with dying, right? It was just the most beautiful, serene feeling I've ever had in my life. Anyway, but then what was really good was, so he'd kissed me on the neck, and I had this feeling, but then, as he stood behind me, he sort of more or less put his hands by my hands, as if he was healing this girl's feet, right? And all these little goblins, this in my mind's eye, not in my physical eye, in my mind's eye, I could see all these little goblins coming off the girl's feet. Yeah. And as they were falling, they were turning into little lambs, right? And I thought, okay, if you're into biblical stuff and everything, we could all put two and two together and say, Jesus, lambs and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so all these goblins were turning into little lambs. And then obviously he went away, and he went back through the door, disappeared. And I just thought, what the fuck has just happened? Right, anyway, then what was amazing then was, at the end of the session, I said, can I just speak to you and tell you what's happened? Right, I said, JC's come through, healed your feet, but there was loads of goblins coming off, and they turned into lambs. And then her mum said, oh, Hayley, take your shoes off and show him. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? It was getting weirder. The whole thing was just getting weirder, right? So then this girl takes her shoes off, takes her socks off, and her whole feet are covered in verrucas and blisters and bad like horrible infection and all this lot. And apparently she said like she'd been under the hospital for years for having these like frozen and all these kind of treatments, whatever else. Anyway, a few weeks later, she got discharged from the hospital, all gone.
Yeah.
And
it's
like,
amazing, isn't it?
And I only can say it was because what he did. He must have come through, healed her.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be the person in the middle at the time, you know, doing the healing, if you like.
Yeah.
But that was one in Keynes, and I just thought, fuck me, right? Anyway, so that's the kind of power of it. You know, not on your level, but like, listen, that's my level.
That's very powerful, you know.
But one thing I did have as well, which was really... Have you ever come across the name Maitreya?
I've heard it, yeah.
Right, now this is interesting because like I went through a period and this is how profound it got. I used to have my own bakery and I used to have an outhouse where they used to turn the horses and the carts and all the rest of it. And in the brickwork, this is where I can imagine why people thought I was fucking nuts, right? I could clearly see a photograph on this wall of a man doing like some kind of symbol with his hand like this, and he looked like JC, but it wasn't JC, right? And I remember at the time, I found this fella, we was going on a course or something, and I phoned him up and I said, listen, can I just... And he said to me, I never told, and he said, you know the figure that you're seeing on your back building? He said, that's Maitreya. Right. And I was like, what the fuck? And then, so obviously, then I'm like, who's Maitreya? And then at the time, there was a singer called Terence Trent D'Arby who changed his name to Maitreya. And then I did a bit of research, and then it turns out like Maitreya was literally one of Jesus's teachers, or the next teacher who's going to come to earth, right? So I've had like loads of profound things, and it's like, so like I got told in a meditation, when the man from the desert with no name comes, that's when you'll all realise he's back. And I'm like, what the fuck? Who's coming back? But they did say he'll come as a teacher of love, and so people need to understand love and all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's other things. I mean, there's a site called Share International. Basically, they believe he's been around here for a long time already. He's been on the airwaves and he's already on Earth and he's been doing his work. And I don't know. There's loads of different stories. It could be there's loads of different stories out there. Do you know what I mean? But I just thought it'd be interesting as well. It'd be interesting to see where this Maitreya comes in, and also I'm always, I don't know if you ever have this. I'm always conscious of like, what if we're being duped? What if we're being told information? What if it's the darkness telling us? I don't know.
I always think about vibration and frequency. It's how it feels. Your soul, believe it or not, you always get your gut feeling. And you know, if someone come in like a dark entity, you know, I do sometimes still get visited by them. They try it on, you know, and I just know how I feel it. If it's of love, you feel the love. If it's not of love, you question it. Get me? So, and
I try to say that to people. Not just in spiritual stuff, but in the life, like when you're meeting people. It's a bit like spiritual stuff because if you meet someone, you can feel it, can't you? Yeah. And sometimes your brain, you go against your gut feeling, don't you? Yeah. Oh, go on, I'll give him a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
But you knew you shouldn't have.
It's lessons though, and you'll repeat that.
And this is where as well I've had to change my thing, because I always used to think, especially when I go into the spiritual, I used to think, oh, we need to help everybody, right? Even the bloody worst of the worst. I have changed my mind a little bit because sometimes people don't want to be helped, and there is bad in the world. There's good and bad, and
they're meant to walk that path. You know, if someone would have come in and tried to teach me Angelic Reiki in 2016, I wasn't ready. I had to learn some more valuable lessons.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a journey. I do. And again, okay, if it's a soul baby, certain people have come here to play that role.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like there has to be good and bad, doesn't there? There has to be
to expand consciousness. Most definitely.
It's our experience as well.
What can you just quickly, what's the call? Because I know we're keeping you.
Yeah, it's okay.
What's your thoughts on the Akashic Records?
Akashic Records, well, apparently every person's life that they've lived throughout the universe is kept in the Hall of Akasha. So there is obviously readers, or you can even be trained yourself to go in and read your own lifetimes. It's basically like it's the hub where we keep all the knowledge of everyone's lives, and even on the other side, you could probably go in and read Jesus' life in that lifetime of how his experience was.
Do you think, from everything you've gone through, do you think it's possible to try and So like if someone come in now and they said like, look, what is my purpose here in this life? What is my journey? Do you think it's possible to give people that information, or are we messing them with their experiences,
and the free will and everything else?
Because it's a double-edged thing, isn't it?
It's about them being connected with their higher self and their higher purpose. If like when I got to my body and he said, what about your mission? Deep down I knew I had a mission. No, I used to say, you're meant for something else. But we're not meant to know. We're meant to find it. That's the beauty of it. Yeah, it's like giving a kid like
boring otherwise.
It's like giving a 10-year-old child all the answers for the SATs questions or whatever. They're not going to learn. So you've got to follow that internal guidance. So it's a bit like getting thrown in a room, spun around a few times, switch the lights off, put an eye mask on, and then it's like, and then you got to find a light switch.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yes. I see it as a video game. We're in a video game, and it'd be a bloody boring game if you just knew the answer all the way through.
Exactly, yeah. And you've got to find it, and that's, like any decent medium, as you know, they'll say, well, there's an eventuality. You could go down this path, that path, or that path. And each path, you could find a different experience. That could be the longest path, the hardest path. I know I've chose a few hard paths, but that's where the most growth's from.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. Anyway, right, I'm conscious of time. I think we're going to have to get you back, Kev, because there's a lot of stuff we need to still talk about and discuss. And I'm intrigued. And so I want to know more. Because also as well, what I want to do is dig into sort of, your beliefs and what you feel and all different areas of spirituality. So I know today we've got deep into sort of your story so far, and I know there's more of that we can talk about. But for now, I think we're going to have to wrap it up.
Before we do, where can people find you? Where can people book you if they want to book you? Or, if you can just lay that out there, and then I can get that on the description below as well. Yeah.
So we do have a website. It's www.codesofconsciousness.co.uk. We've got that website set up. And then obviously my socials like Instagram, Kev Morris _ Angelic Reiki _ healer. We have a Codes of Consciousness 1111. And get me on Facebook as well. Kevin Morris, Angelic Reiki healer.
Superb.
Your book, Healers Aren't Holy, From Jack the Lad to Spiritual Healer by Kevin Morris. That's available on Amazon and
Kindle.
And Kindle.
Yeah.
And I recommend that. I actually read it in 2 nights actually. And I just flew. I didn't want to put it down. Yeah. So because I've got to be honest, and I will say this, because I've told everyone, I said I'm going to have to say it. So I read the book for the first 100 pages, and I was like, it better get good. Not as in a good, as in because at that point I thought, whoa, your life was such a different direction.
Yeah.
And for me, the first 100 pages, like for me, I said it's probably somebody I wouldn't want to be around. It's not someone I would feel vibrationally connected to.
Yeah.
But then as I read your book, I realised you had to go through these changes to get where you want. So, and obviously, when I was at the halfway point, I realised there was another half of the book.
Yeah.
And to get to that, you need to understand the story. Yeah. So I don't want to spoil it for people. So I'd recommend it. Go and have a read of that. Because there will be people as well who are just starting this journey. Who won't understand what the hell's happening, that kind of thing.
And the way I look at it as well, obviously for those who are connected, you'll understand we're going through a mass awakening at the minute. We are on the road of ascension. But this book, this is going to be like the real history books of these times.
Right.
So like when these kids come on in the future and they're all love and light and they're ascended masters, they'll go, I wonder what it was like to be in addiction. I wonder what it was like to be met by a reptilian race. Yeah. And, because they've had a stronghold on the planet for so long, so they're going to be the real textbooks of future generations.
Good point.
Thanks so much for coming on today, Kev.
Absolutely.
I can't believe how quick it's gone. I feel like we've only just got
I know. And I bet you feel like your journey's only just begun, eh?
It really has, yeah. There's some great things in the pipeline and, products to help people with their nutrition.
Unbelievable.
Holding space with retreats, workshops, and obviously still. But for me, Angelic Reiki is like the center pole, and there's a spiral of all tools coming around it. But I'm just keep up being that guiding light in the middle.
And next time you come on, remind me, because we never got to chance. I wanted to discuss how because you've managed to go across seas quite a lot. I want to get into that, and because you've been port across, and I want to, get into how because we're here in the UK and we're just in our bubble, if you like.
Yeah.
But I've not had that opportunity at the moment to go and speak to people in Australia or America, and you know, so I'd really like to dig deep with you there and get your feeling and see how other people are reacting in other countries.
Most definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because I think we're a little bit behind. That's my perception. I don't know if the UK people are a little bit behind other countries. Or
I'll leave you with this then. So when I got took to America to teach in Florida, I'd done a workshop in Canada. Can't remember, it begins with an O. Bloody hell, it's gone on my head. And then Ontario.
Right.
And then I flew down to Florida.
Yeah.
And I taught a class of 9, And they asked, and these were used to be Reiki masters of 30 years. A lot longer than I've been doing. I've only been doing it for about a year and a half, 2 years as an Angelic Reiki master teacher. And I said to them, can you tell me the difference between Angelic Reiki? How are you feeling with it? And you know what he said? For them, it was the super Wi-Fi version of Reiki.
That's beautiful.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Ah, lovely.
Well, remind me next time, we'll get deep into this as well, because there's lots more we need to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
And also as well, you've got your retreat coming up, so we'll be able to discuss that. Retreat, sorry. We'll get all that information. We'll get your links, so everyone's got all your dates.
Yeah.
And also, I dare say you're going to have plenty more experiences over the coming months, and we want to hear all about it here at Drake Mission.
Until the next time, Kev.
Oh, thank you so much, gents.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for coming, Kev. Really
appreciate it.
Okay, sorted. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.